House Bill 346, the clerk will read.
Representatives Bradford, Setzer, Reeves, and Bell. House Bill 346, a bill to be entitled Reorganize an Economic Development Act. The General Assembly of North Carolina enacts.
Representative Bradford, does the gentleman wish to handle the amendment first?
I do, yes, sir, please.
The gentleman is recognized. Send forth an amendment. The clerk will read.
Representative Bradford moves to amend the bill.
Gentleman is recognized to debate the amendment.
Yes, this bill it's a technical bill or amendment for redundant clarifying language. Staff provided it to me, so purely technical. Appreciate your support. Thanks.
Any discussion or debate on the amendment? If not, the question before the House is the adoption of the amendment sent forward by Representative Bradford. Those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment is adopted. The gentleman now has the floor to debate the bill as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members of the chamber. This bill is called Reorganization and Economic Development Act. It's really a business regulatory reform bill that's intended to address the corporate structure for North Carolina's 2 HSCs, which is called Hospital Service Corporations. We only have 2 of them, and those 2 companies are Delta Dental and Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Carolina. The intent of the bill is to create a more level playing field for those 2 HSCs, and what I think everyone can relate to, the healthcare industry is fiercely competitive and rapidly changing. I do, just for a moment, want to thank my primary sponsors, Majority Leader Bell, Senior Chairman Setzer, Minority Leader Reeves, for helping me on this. I filed this bill, I haven't counted the exact days, but I remember it was March the 9th, so I think it's over 45 days. And I have somehow worked on this bill in one way or the other, probably every single day. And that's fine, because I think that's how good legislation is made. We have worked with various stakeholders. I've asked all the parties to come together as much as possible between different groups such as Department of Insurance, North Carolina Medical Society, and a lot of other groups for that matter. I guess the way I would leave it with you is if someone came to my office and expressed concerns, I took the time to hear them out and try to address them. And that's really the way I've tried to drive this bill. I would tell you that while we may not have got 100% to address all the concerns, and very rarely in this place does that happen, I feel like we really got this thing on the 90% to what some of those groups wanted. And so that's a good thing. And just by way of example, this bill has gone through 3 committees, has had 3 favorable reports. In the Health Committee, I offered a PCS because my intent was to PCS the bill once and only once and address all the concerns. And we did, and those concerns or those changes addressed many of the concerns for the bill. But through that night, as that bill moved from health into insurance, we continued to work with groups to address yet even more concerns. So I ran an amendment in insurance to, I think, make a bill that had been made better to make it even better. And so I do want to just tell you that we're at crossover. This bill has to go to the Senate. I would remain open to work with the Senate to continue to prove as we can, because that's just, again, the way I run my legislation. In summary, this bill is supported by both Democrat and Republican leadership in the chamber. It's supported by the North Carolina State Chamber of Commerce, NFIB, and a lot of others. And I hope you'll support the bill, and I'm happy to answer any questions that I can. Thanks for listening.
For what purpose does the lady from Guilford, Representative Harrison, rise?
To debate the bill.
Lady has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and ladies and gentlemen of the House. Once again, I appreciate Representative Bradford's willingness to work with parties on this bill to try and address their concerns. I've been concerned about this bill since it was first filed, because I was around in 2003 when we had the big fight over the conversion of Blue Cross Blue Shield to a for-profit. And this bill seems to be doing an end run around that 1997 statute that created the measures for establishing a conversion, and that would move the entire fair market value of the company to a charitable foundation for the benefit of North Carolina citizens. And I think that's the rub here, because I will admit that I don't understand the complexity of this bill, but as I understand it, it's setting up the process to move some into investing in for-profit activities, takes it out of the endowment where it's currently earning investment earnings, and those get translated into rebates or service for those with less service opportunity and lower income. It does seem to, as I understand it, we'll end up with increasing premiums on the 4.4 million North Carolinians who currently subscribe to Blue Cross Blue Shield. And the possibility of premium rebates will be eliminated. It limits the amount of surplus that a North Carolina insurer can accumulate to an amount equal to 6 months of annual claims premiums plus administrative expenses. Blue Cross Blue Shield is permitted to transfer by dividend or otherwise to the exempt holding company any amount of the excess premiums, but there will never be another premium rebate to the 4.4 million North Carolinians who subscribe to Blue Cross Blue Shield, since they could just transfer without penalty $1 billion into a holding company at any time that the excess premium maximum is close to being reached. As I said, it seems to be a backdoor repeal of the public conversion statute. I have pages of information. I don't want to bore you all with this. My main point is this is a serious bill that seems to undo an important statute that has sailed through 3 committees in the past week with limited public input, less than 10 minutes of public input, 2 minutes, which was allotted to our insurance commissioner who regulates this entity. And I would implore this body to vote no and send it back to committee. I understand we have a crossover deadline, but I don't want this bad bill to leave this chamber. And really, it hurts North Carolina. It hurts North Carolina subscribers. It will be taking money that belongs to North Carolina and putting it into for-profit companies. And I urge you to vote no, and let's send it back to committee and get more input from those who have concerns about this. Thank you.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Lincoln, Representative Sane, rise?
Speak on the bill.
Gentleman has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, members. This is something that is needed by a North Carolina company. It makes sense, and we've worked hard to reduce regulations and make it easier for companies in our state to do business. This is the same process. As Representative Bradford indicated, the bill is very different from how it started and has incorporated many of the concerns expressed. It protects the mission of the company. It adds transparency into the investments and salaries of the board and executives, ensures that the commissioner has authority to enforce the protections added to the bill, and it limits how much can be transferred in the restructuring to ensure that premiums won't go up as a result of the transfer. Mr. Speaker, this is a good bill and has been a good process as the bill sponsors have moved the bill forward. I urge you to vote for the bill.
For what purpose does the lady from Mecklenburg, Representative Cunningham, rise?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To speak to the bill.
Lady has the floor.
Thank you. What I'm going to say is that this bill has been out there for a while. It didn't come overnight. It's been through every committee that it's supposed to go through. Now, since I've been here, I have never seen a bill massaged as much as this bill has been massaged. This bill is ready, and the time is now, and I ask for your support for it. Thank you.
For what purpose does the lady from New Hanover, Representative Butler, rise?
To briefly debate the bill.
Lady
Mr.
has the
Speaker.
floor.
Folks, this bill impacts probably 4.5 million of us in this state with an 80% market share or 55%, whatever that number is. I've heard it bandied about. It's a lot of North Carolinians that are impacted by this bill. And if we get this wrong, it's going to be a disastrous situation. I've heard it said that the Commissioner of Insurance has the authority to review these investments and so forth. But when I asked the president of Blue Cross Blue Shield himself whether or not Commissioner Causey had the ability to stop what he perceived as risky investments, the answer was no. So to me, that sends a red flag. When you've got a Commissioner of Insurance who does not support the bill and does not have the authority to stop what he perceives as the riskiest investments coming from this bill, that gives me great pause. And the suggestion that this bill has been around for a while and has been massaged more than any other bill, I point swiftly to Medicaid expansion. That affected a lot of North Carolinians too, but we spent 10 years massaging that. Certainly this bill deserves a little more massaging, maybe not 10 years, but let's at least think carefully about how this bill impacts North Carolina. because if we get it wrong, it's a bad mistake.
For what purpose, the gentleman from Forsyth, Representative Lambeth, rise.
Debate the bill.
Gentleman has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, this is a really interesting bill, and I have spent time trying to really understand, and I have talked to Blue Cross, I've talked to others, I've got obviously a lot of emails, a lot of those who are concerned about it, and I have been concerned about it. But you know, this is actually a pretty remarkable bill to have the sponsors on this bill who have supported this bill. To have the majority leader and the minority leader on a bill as primary sponsors is actually causes me to think hard about it. And then to have two of the senior level finance chairs, and I quite frankly don't believe they'd lead us down a bad path. I believe that this has been given a lot of vetting, discussion. You know, I've been probably one of the biggest critics of Blue Cross. We've gone toe to toe and nose to nose on issues. I don't always agree with them. But they are a very good company. They are North Carolina based. They provide incredible, efficient service to those that they represent. Healthcare is complex, but paying claims is very complex. I don't believe for a minute that this will cause premiums to go up. Now, I can tell you, it's likely premiums are going to go up anyway because the cost of healthcare continues to rise. But I do not believe that this bill will cause premiums to go up. I actually think it has the potential for reduction in cost, because if strategically they do it correctly and they create a subsidiary organization that gives them the flexibility, I believe that they can actually contribute through their foundation, through their insurance products, a more efficient product. So I'm a little skeptical about those who say, I mean, it seems to be more of a fear tactic that this is going to raise premiums. Well, quite frankly, let's all be honest. Premiums are going to go up anyway, regardless of what Blue Cross does. And I don't believe this will actually contribute to that. I believe we should pass this bill because of who's actually advocating it, and that we continue to watch and we continue to support Blue Cross in what they're trying to do strategically. It is a very changing healthcare market. Insurance is changing, provider market's changing, and I think they have given this a lot of thought. They obviously knew there was challenges and risks to come to ask this body to support it. But I think they're doing the right thing, and we should do the right thing by passing this bill on to the Senate. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
For what purpose, the gentleman from Mecklenburg, Representative Majid, rise.
To speak to the bill.
Gentleman has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members of the House. This bill, I think it has the checks and balances that are necessary to keep everything balanced as far as the operations are concerned. Also, Blue Cross and Blue Shield will have the ability to address the needs in the rural community, which is sorely needed. So for that purpose, for that reason, I'm going to support this bill.
For what purpose, the lady from Wake, Representative Sylvania, rise.
To speak on the bill, sir.
Lady has the floor.
So I want to speak on process and content. Process-wise, I do have high respect for my leader, also Leader Bell, and those who are on this bill. But as my colleague had said, this bill has been in existence for several months. And I personally have to stop Blue Cross Blue Shield to ask them about any of it without engaging me in discussion. I know our leaders are on this bill, but each one of us has a vote on this bill, and we should be afforded every piece of information, be it pro or con. My colleague, Representative Bradford, said he's worked with the other organizations, but I will have to say, and I was speaking with all of the societies, including the Medical Society, and they told me I was the one, when I forwarded them the PCS, that was the first time they saw it. Process. Content. I'm not against Blue Cross Blue Shield making money. Ultimately, it helps us at the end, right, to expand services and make better services for us. But we did create a statute on conversion. So why not make yourselves for profit? One of the most successful other insurance companies in our country is Kaiser Permanente. And they went through the process and kept their nonprofit insurance branch, but made a for-profit holding company. And so in that space, they can even make more money than having to be beholden to Commissioner Causey or any of our statutes to hold them back when it comes to investment. But I will say, every one of us, and includes mostly all of us in here, are a policyholder when it comes to Blue Cross Blue Shield. I invest a lot. This is the only reason why I can be here, because I invested money. When I invest in a company, I want to know full disclosure, how much my board of directors is making, and I want to be able to get my dividends when I invest. This is not what's going to be happening in this situation. Lastly, I know I can keep going on this. When there's a change 10% to 25% when it comes to bringing over profit over to the holding company, the priority is to bring it over instead of prioritizing a rebate to go to our policy holders. That's very much a concern. As Representative Lambert said, our rates are going to be increasing. True. But how much are they going to increase, especially during this time that we have economic challenges, and many of us here in North Carolina, many of our people we represent are already having struggles when it comes to medical health care and even affording health care. So I urge all of my colleagues to vote no on this. Thank you so much.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Wake, Representative Jones, rise?
Speak to the bill.
The gentleman has the floor.
Initially, I wasn't going to speak to this bill because I'm not an expert on insurance, as I'm sure probably most people in here are not. But I thought I'd talk to it for a couple reasons. And one is, I would ask a question, and you should answer it individually to yourself. How many of you understand this bill? How many of you individually understand this bill? If you don't understand it totally, what its impact will be and who it will affect in your district, the regular people, as I call them, who aren't in here, I believe that requires, let's wait and figure it out rather than vote yes and put it through. That's one reason. Second reason, as I said, insurance is a tough industry. It's necessary. I'm a lawyer. I've dealt with a lot of insurance companies over the years. Most insurance companies look after themselves. Nothing wrong with that. That's the system. When I practiced, I learned to get their letter, look through it, think about my client's interests, get back to them, check with other sources. In other words, put it another way, insurance is a complex business. The job of, I see myself in here doing, is to protect the interests of the people on the outside of this building. That's my number one job. And if I can't look them in the face in the grocery store or at church or jogging on the jogging trail and say, hey, why'd you vote for the insurance bill the other day? I don't know, they told me that it was all done, the leaders had worked it out and blah, blah, blah. That's not good enough for me. And I think I'm a pretty intelligent person, and I have the ability to understand it. But right now, I do not. And I dare say I'm not the only person in this room who's in that position. So I would urge you to vote no. I'm sure they'll circle back and bring it back and work on it some more. But this isn't the time. And I urge a no vote. Thank you.
For what purpose the gentleman from Mecklenburg, Representative Bradford, rise?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And,
Gentleman's recognized to debate the bill.
Oh, apologize, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate all the comments, and I can assure you there's been no arm twisting from me on anyone on this bill. So there's a couple things. One, I have been available this entire time, and if anyone in this chamber wanted to spend any time with me before today, they could have, and most certainly even after the vote, they still can, because I have nothing to hide, and I really understand this bill forwards and backwards, otherwise I wouldn't have run it. And in health the other day, I don't know, for those of you that were there, I thought it was a 2-hour committee meeting, and I was there, and we were up against a shot clock that I didn't understand. There was a time change, but my point is, I was, had to be cut off mid-comments because we were getting ready to miss the window, but I was there in earnest to present the bill, answer every question, but, it's crossover, and I don't want that to be a reflection on the way I'm trying to handle this bill, because I was ready, and I was even advised by the chair at the time, if I don't quit talking, we're not going to take a vote, so I had to. And I got a timeout over here. Look at this. I'm getting that already. All I'll tell you is there's no end-around run. Pricey, Representative Harrison, your friend. The conversion statute, it's important to know the conversion statute remains in place for the future. So the public trust money will still be there. That's in place. Premiums, we've heard a little bit about premiums. I just want to make this very clear. There is nothing in this bill that would increase premiums. Okay? Opponents have not provided any concrete examples how this would lead to higher premiums, because the commissioner himself holds the authority to approve or deny premiums, period. That's in statute. This bill does not address that. So I know we talk a lot about premiums, but if premiums go up, you might want to ask the commissioner, because this bill doesn't impact that. So I will just tell you, this bill's got to get crossover. It's got to go to the Senate. I will spend as much time as any of you want who's against this bill afterwards to do what I can to help you understand it and hear your concerns. But for today, I hope you'll vote favorable. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to present it, Mr. Speaker.
Further discussion, further debate? If not, the question for the House is the passage of House Bill 346 on second reading. Those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will open the vote. Representative Sossman wish to vote. Representative Warren wish to vote. Representative Price wish to vote. Representative Staten Williams wish to vote. Representative Staten Williams on the floor. Clerk will lock machine record the vote. 86, 7 voting affirmative and 26 in the negative. House Bill 346 passed the second reading without objection. Will be read a third time.
The General Assembly of North Carolina enacts.
Question for the House, passage of House Bill 346 on third reading. Those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. Ayes appear to have it. Ayes do have it. House Bill 346, having passed its third reading, is ordered engrossed and sent to the Senate.